2026, let's roll. So, traditional masculinity, not toxic masculinity, traditional masculinity. Apparently, there's a shortage of masculine men in today's society. Let's pause for a second. In G, I'm wondering what ever happened to traditional masculinity? Did we somehow replace that with toxic masculinity? Was that an indoctrination? Was that sold to society? And if there's toxic masculinity, if there is such a thing, which there isn't, then why aren't we talking about toxic femininity? On that same token, we talk about equality, right? We talk about blaming men for everything that goes wrong and not everything that's going right. We discredit them for that too. We've kind of reached a point in society today where young men are staying indoors. They don't even see the light and day of what nature has to offer. People have stopped walking. Gen Z glued to their video games indoors. Now, granted, some of the richest generational wealth being garnered today is by Gen Z. On one hand, they have the brains and fluke, right? The fate they have in creating money and printing money. Hats off, because I am not that guy. So on the flip side, they know how to make money. Not all, but just a few elite Gen Zs. But on the flip side, masculinity as a whole has lost its fine, firm touch. And I'm a Gen Xer. I come from a time when Generation X was the most sought after men and even women. Because back then, during my time, women knew how to stay in their lanes. And believe it or no, this may trigger the modern day people today, modern day women, but I think most men today, regardless of the generation types we're in today, we all in terms of categories and things that we want from a woman has relatively stayed the same through generations in and generations out. The common denominator in all of this and what's changed is the on the feminine side of the equation, where men have become more feminine. And it's hard, it's really, really difficult in today's day and age in society to find feminine fit, so fresh, fit, and feminine woman. It's really hard to find that. And if you throw in obesity on both sides, both genders, it's the worst it's ever been. So people are exercising less. They're not moving a whole lot more. They're definitely eating really, really bad. And the old adage is saying that you cannot outwork a bad diet. That's screaming right in our faces. So normally you would find me out and about outdoors, walking and talking. But obviously we're at peak winter season, so I am indoors. I mean, it's sort of frosty outside, and it's not the season to be walking and talking and recording. I actually walk, but it's hard to record. A lot of noise, a lot of weather ailments that prevent me from doing so at this time, because I work 9 to 5 corporate as well. But coming back to this topic, we have to rethink, reshape, help re-image today's cry for help in society. And I still, till this day, am a very firm believer that men and women, a boy and a girl, traditionally speaking, in terms of straight relationships, we are craving each other, man. We are craving each other's touch. We are craving each other's company. And what's gotten in the way is the indoctrination and this value proposition from the rulers of the economy that this gender is bad for you. Like traditional masculinity is bad for you, right? What else is a man to do when you strip away his inner callings? What else is a man to do when you strip away his natural biological impulses, right? You build one sex up at the expense of the other, right? But you're dispositioning a group of men, young, mid, old, it doesn't matter. We have lineage, we have history, and history has prevailed. History has won, right? History is winning right now. History is right in the forefront of our faces, telling us that we as society, we have failed. epic, in a very epic fashion, right? The roles are reversed. Now we are in this girl boss era that's also subsiding. It's all kind of, that's yesteryear. But we have just weathered the storm for the last 8, 9, 10 years of this woke culture that's also coming up to light, and it's right in our faces. And your future sons and your future husbands to be, if they choose to marry, are subject to all of those conditions and programs in society today. There's a lot of single mothers also raising sons, future husbands too. There's a video I made about the emasculation of young boys, young men, future sons and future husbands, and some of you all could actually be raising those men. And so, 10 years ago you may have been 25 as a woman. Or 10 years ago you could have been 21, 20. Why am I giving the decade? Is because you could be 35 today, you could be 31 today. 10 years ago was a different time, different world, with the peak of feminism, the peak of the woke movement, right? And today you have a son, and you have to ask yourself, and if you have multiple sons, brothers, right? We're all questioning life as young men, young boys, right? And so it's come down to traditional masculinity to come to the rescue. And right now, I actually have a group of guys that I am mentoring without even knowing that I'm mentoring. But these guys are looking up to me in every sense, in everything that I'm doing, and how I practically carry myself as a man. Now, I don't have it all completely dialed in as far as being perfect, because I'm far from being perfect. I am just as human. But there's something called wisdom, right? That's comes in the form of just natural state of being, where your instincts, your impulses sort of guide you as a Gen Xer and this late in life. And the experiences that I've had in life, honestly, those experiences have really taught me valuable lessons in life. And if I was to go back 15 years ago, right, which I practically was in my mid 30s, I would thank myself, because I knew that there's something going on with the society today. And I could tell you 10, 15 years ago that we weren't heading in the right direction. And when you look up today, we see our future daughters, our future wives to be, selling themselves online and selling themselves to the devil, right? And doing only schools, right? Only scams, right? And that's become a bragging right. Forget making millions of dollars, because not everyone's cashing in like that, right? But society has lied to their future. Like, society has lied to this whole idea that they have cultivated something known as toxic masculinity, which is so polar opposite to what's needed in today's day and age, which is traditional, mature, experience masculinity. And we do everything in our power to strip down men of their spaces, of their mental peace, their mental health. This whole movement has seeped into corporate culture, even, where you have to watch what you say. But when it comes to the other opposite sex, they have an open cannon. Basically, they can fire at will, right? We build her up and we tear him down. We build her up, we tear him down. It's always at the expense of the very infrastructure that you're living, sitting in, and breathing. The steel, the manufacturing, the buildings, the roads that we drive in, the air conditions, the plumbing, the shipping, the freight, deep ocean fishing, and those dangerous jobs that require actual strength, which is testosterone fueling us, right? Because the competitive nature, you are defying all of that. All of that. Like, why can't we just accept the fact that there are some things men do really well that you as women can't do, which is okay, which is totally acceptable. And on the flip side, there's a lot of things you women can do that we'll just say, we'll take a back seat and just say, hey, you go on, girl. Like, you go on. That's it. Actually, my biceps and shoulders, being in shape. But that's how we used to be back in the day. We men were men, and women were women. We were staying in our lanes, and we have to kind of go back to that because that works. What doesn't work is today, where hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not thousands, across America, but across the globe, these women are sitting in their cars and crying, almost homeless as well, might I add. A lot of crying videos in their cars, in dark places, in dark rooms, you know. And I'm not making fun. I'm just bringing this to light that what a sad state of affairs. And mind you, the age groupings that I see is as young as 18, 19, 20, early 20s to early 30s to mid 30s. Now we even get into the 40s and 50s, right? We have women today who are incentivized to break up their marriages and still go out looking for the one. And when you look at their profile, not only do they have one or multiple divorces, they're in situationships and they also have kids, but they're still looking for the one. The reality is you've already walked out of a great situation. That was the one. You left the one to find the one. So make that ish make sense, man. You left the one to find the one. Does it make sense? I follow that logic, if that's logic, but that's your reasoning. And that's why a lot of you are single. And that's why, precisely why men have just kind of headed with society today and said, hey, man, we're simple creatures, right? Our needs and what we were asking and seeking were very basic. But you all came up with a 25-page list, grocery list of items that just never ending. They have to check all of these boxes, all of these checklists here. And God forbid you miss one of them, like not having any hair or being 5'8", because those are things that we can't control. What you can control is you can control your mouth, you can control your attitude, you can also control your goddamn weight. That has to be said. And the thing is this, us guys, when it comes to men, we don't need the truth to be sugar-coated. That's powerful right there. Like, you can tell us behind closed doors, man to man. That's why they say just be man. That's why you hear things as man up, bro. Man up. Only a man can say that to a man. Only a man can tell that to a boy when it comes to schooling them, nurturing them, growing them, right? Into tough men, essentially. If you all recall the Gillette commercial not too long ago, they changed the slogan from the best a man can get to best a man can be, something along the lines. Gillette, the best a man can get. Right, I think that was it. And I remember that commercial like yesterday. It was testosterone filled, combative, natural sports, and just manly looking men, athletic men into working out and adhering to their biological impulses and promoting marriage. You would see the dating phase and a white bridal, all romantic, like back in the day, how it used to be, promoting all the traditional values that we are yearning for today. And they would show like stubbles and a jawline, right? You shave that, and then all of a sudden you have a sexy, sassy, classy chemistry between a man and a woman, and then you see the white dress, and then you see a bunch of kids, maybe a dog. I love those commercials. At the core of all of this, it may sound like that my channel is designed to bag on the opposite gender. I mean, that's really not the case, because I not once said that I hate women. I love women. I'm actually dating. I'm in a situationship right now, but that's actually more worthwhile for me, given the circumstances we live in today. And I think that that's what I can do best for now, because long-term commitments in marriage in today's day and age society is just an absolute disaster. You could do everything right today as a man, right? Traditional man, if you get one, and somehow that will still be deemed toxic, and she'll still find not one reason, but many reasons to leave you and jump into a situation way worse than you, that you would have to question your sanity as a traditional man. Even if you aren't a traditional man, let's just say you have some of the qualities of a traditional man and you're doing everything right, she would still leave you, man, because it's boring, and she doesn't like boring. She likes the toxicity. She likes hanging on the edge. She likes the games. She likes leaving you on red. She likes to leave you on unread. right? If you respond too quick, all of a sudden you have nothing going on. You're a loser. But us guys, we're very simple. Like, we send you a text to advance the conversation. We send you a reply. We genuinely mean what time you want to meet up. Okay, it's Saturday. I texted you Wednesday. I'm going to check in with you Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, giving you some space because you slept till 9 o'clock, 9:30, assuming you did. So we text you around 10:30. Hey, just want to give you a quick text. Make sure that we're meeting in David Vesta's, wherever, at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. That's it. But we're not even there. We are so far out of reach and so ingrained and engulfed with toxicity that on the day of the actual date, we just ghost each other. And a lot of times, it's the girl doing the ghosting. It's the girls doing the ghosting. And they find an excuse that, oh, I was just not into him and he was just too nice. He was a nice guy. So between the time you matched, let's say on a dating app, you got each other's Instagram, they consume you, they watch your stories, they spy on you, right? And you can kind of feel that projecting, that energy of like, that's weird. She's acting really creepy, right? Because she's stalking my entire profile and I can see her looking at my stories. When it came to the actual date, they don't show up, and they don't even give you a reason, man. It's like, did we even say hi in person? It's to the point now I don't even question it. I almost expect it. And with that being said, and that if that's how I'm thinking, that's pretty toxic. And if you want to call that toxic masculinity with quotation marks, you got me there. Men are being trained to become toxic, and it doesn't have to do with men or toxicity. It has everything to do with how you, as a modern woman, acting. You are training us how to respond, because at the end of the day, you're choosing the toxic men in your life because they make you feel a certain way. They make you adrenaline. They make your blood pump and rush in a certain way that you're addicted to toxic behavior. You like being ghosted. You like the pain. You like the one night stands. You like the promiscuity. Like you like the idea of only scams, right? So you sell yourself and you sell your 20s, and by the time you get to 27, 28, you are racing to that finish line that somehow that the one is going to show up with the parachute and the millions of dollars, and he's gonna be somehow 6'3" and have a perfect 8-pack, six figures, way beyond six figures salary guy, right? Entrepreneur, has a 8-cylinder car, and he must have a beard, and he must have hair, and he must be good to your family and accept your kid and accept your dogs and cats and all that while being loyal to you. What you all are looking for is a what you call a high value man, and what you don't realize is to become a high value man, it takes decades, if not a lifetime's worth of work to get to that position, right? So just like you've had your 20s to pick the men in your life and take them, on endless runs in the night and rolls in the hay in the sack per se, right? You've had your fun, you've done your hot cold summers, and you've had all your fun and treats and experiences that you expect this guy not only to show up and put a ring on your finger, which is the ultimate prize, by the way, which then removes the table from you because you're not the table anymore. You never were the table. Essentially, what you were chasing was the table, right? And marriage, I'm going to make a video separately on it. Marriage is the ultimate table, and marriage is the ultimate prize. And both of these are not interchangeable. Both of these are offered by a traditional man, a high value man. Let's just put it there because that's how modern women like it today, a high value man. But I would say that traditional masculinity, a traditional man, will offer you marriage and his commitment, which is the price, right? Sex is the easy part. Sex sells. That's why you all conflate the two. That you can get any man you want, and you can get any man this and that. Yeah, for sex. But if you were really the prize, right, and if you were really all that, you'd be having a ring on your finger, and we would see less crying videos. The reality is that the men that you want today, you've already passed up on. The men that you want today, you've already friend zoned years ago. They were right there in front of you. They would have given you a great life. But because they weren't 6 feet, because they weren't making $189,099.99, because they didn't have a six-cylinder car, right? All of these checklists of items. Oh, he wore his handkerchief like there was a different color, or he took you to Cheesecake Factory, which, mind you, is really nice. Inflation today. Cheesecake Factory was always one of my favorite places, and it still is. I don't see the qualm. I'm from an English country. I'm from New Zealand. We roll a little bit differently in these English countries, and we just have an appreciation for the small things in life. And I just scratched my head to say, what was so wrong with Cheesecake Factory? And it's for two, it adds up. You can get a nice 2-3 course meal. I don't get it. And I see Instagram threads and feeds on posts about the top 20 places that women will not go on a first date. I beg to challenge that today, because last I checked, I don't think you're all being asked out on dates today, not even for coffee. And you all consider coffee as a low effort date. So the standards today goes something along like this: toxic masculinity, toxic men. Everything in society is to blame on men, right? It's all men's fault because there's no accountability for you all. And if we raise our voices and say that it's your fault and these are the reasons why, bam, we're just slapped. Our voices are slit, right? We are sort of neutered in that sense in today's society on what we can say, how we can say. And until YouTube comes back and says, hey, you can make these kinds of videos, then I'm going to keep doing it because there's a demand for it. You know, you've stripped away a man's purpose. You've taken from his character. You have kind of neutered our biological impulses and our instincts. And now you're crying in your cars, waiting for the one, wanting the one, pining for the one, and the one is nowhere to be found because men have checked out from this game entirely. We're not even seeking dates. We're not even seeking a relationship. Some of us are not even seeking a situationship. And it's really sad. It's really sad. I'm not happy with the state of the current affairs. And the sooner we face this reality that men need women and women need men, and that we should not hate on each other and we should build each other up because our future sons and daughters are each other's futures, we are taking from our future kids. We are taking from our future husbands and wives. That's the next generation that carries the torch. And we are teaching them through our own lifetime as we speak today. Which is why I think Generation X, the most slept on generation, is coming alive and speaking more, right? How can you tell this story without demeaning the other side, right? How can we let men and boys be boys, let men be men? For nearly 10 years, the statement "boys will be boys" was considered toxic. But today, boys are not even boys. We're turning boys into girls and normalizing it. What's toxic here? What's toxic? Because from where I see it, the opposite gender today is more empowered than ever before. And when you all cry victim, it just makes me scratch my head. Like, I mean, I'm just in my corner here eating some chicken fried rice and drinking my sparkling water and taking that gulp, and first sip and saying, man, it just feels good to feed my hunger and just have a nice, peaceful meal. And when I put my head up, you know, false accusations and she too and all of this stuff, it's kind of like This is the most empowered era and generation, and you all have everything in your corner, like government assistance programs, money revenue tied to incentivizing you all, and backup plans and programs that's funding your lifestyle. Like marriage is essentially set up for men to fall into a big financial trap. So we as boys, as men, we have to be very careful on who we decide to marry and bring into our lives, and also invite legal troubles in our household that haunt us for a lifetime. And in some cases, men have offed themselves because of these very situations that they can never get out of. And you know, I come from a background where my mother treated my father horribly his entire life, and he gave her everything. He gave her the world, and till his dying day, he never stopped loving her. And I think he died trying to figure out where he went wrong. And if he's listening to me, his spirit, I hope that he knows that my ability to speak and portray and tell a story this way without a script is my calling. It's my voice. It's a part of me that's living out a piece of his life, and also his blessings, that I can actually have the strength and courage to have a voice and to be able to project and tell a story, right? This was top of my mind as I was driving today, thinking about masculinity and why is it so toxic. Let me my back. And normally I'm not sitting down like this. This is why I don't sit down. I stand up, but I have to record a video. So I'll leave you on this note: is that back in the day, we grew up watching Sylvester Stallone / Rocky Balboa, Rambo, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van Damme, all of these manly men that were men, muscles, right? Testosterone fueled, machine guns, and fighting and punching each other's face and teeth out, shooting in a very cool way where kids would aspire to be like that. I mean, my background in martial arts and action sequences and in film acting, all of this comes from those movies. And I think those movies had a huge impact in shaping me as a kid, where I needed those men to be my mentors and someone to look up to. Because my mother had made life a living hell in our own home. And my father, unfortunately, could not stand up to her. And she wore the pants. And she resembles a lot of the modern times today that we live in. It's almost like she was so ahead of our time, trying to spread that toxicity that I see today. She had it down to the freaking dot back in the day, and she never stopped until I pulled away and stopped talking to her, and my life became a lot better when I cut her out from my life. Right? It was what they call gray rock, right? Just cold turkey. She doesn't exist. I know she's alive, but she doesn't exist. And that was the only way I could bring peace to my life. Is forgiveness doesn't require reconnection. And some of you may be in toxic situations today with your significant other. It could be a man for an anomaly, for a girl or a woman in a situation, for that matter, toxic relationships, right? But this video was more about traditional masculinity and getting that message across and speaking to it. What was top of my mind as I was driving 16 miles from my office to a client location today. And I am pretty happy that I was able to put this and frame it in a video and put this out there for the public to consume and watch. And if you've seen my earlier videos, these days I speak right from my heart. And I think if you have your own channel, if you're doing the Lord's work and helping people, things have a way of opening up within, if you know what I mean. And just it's a higher power that's moving me forward and helping me continue this pace. And this channel, newcomers, I've done a lot of fitness videos. Obviously, you can see my lifestyle. As I say, I have a beautiful fireplace. My place is set up as a mini gym. That's a little gym here. I have some other equipment on the other side, but I live and breathe this lifestyle. But my channel started growing very slowly when I started talking about relationships and my personal experiences being an older man. Even though I don't look like an older man, I am 50 years old. So that's another, flamethrower, like I'm dropping the bomb. For those who don't know, So I'm a thriving Gen Xer, and I put my health, my stress management, my solitude, and my singleness at the front of the line, is because it's just not worth your time, your health, your history, your energy, your effort. But prioritizing a woman in today's society and making her number one is because it'll never fail. She'll ruin your peace. You're going to stress, the weight gain that comes with it. Your body is going to suffer through inflammation, the mental health decline, and she's not going to be faithful. Social media has equipped her to give herself, she's ready for sale. She's accessible by anyone at any given time. You have to be ready to lose her. And so when you start looking at things from that perspective, you save yourself from heartbreak, you save yourself from mental decline, and you are able to put two and two together and tell yourself and confirm and reaffirm that you are more than just enough and you don't need her in your life. She needs you more than you need her. And if she leaves, consider it a blessing, because she that's her loss. Time is not on her side. Time is on your side. And this is coming from an older man. I'm dating chicks, women today in their 20s. I'll leave it there. And you can shame me for what you want to do, for what it's worth, because I'm happy, she's happy. Last I checked, you don't live here. You don't share the experience that we're sharing. At the end of the day, I have young, vibrant energy, and the lifestyle speaks for itself. So, with that said, that is the video for the night, for the day. 30 minutes, man, I could keep going. Maybe a part two. I don't know. But until the next video, guys, be safe, be healthy, take care of yourselves. Mamba out.